Jamal steered his battered but reliable delivery van onto Maple Street, humming a cheerful tune even though the pavement shimmered with summer heat and the afternoon schedule looked impossibly full. Three teens on bikes laughed, mocking Jamal's worn uniform and scuffed shoes from countless miles of honest labor. Jamal straightened his name badge, took a calming breath, and walked toward the gilded doors, carrying a large package marked fragile that seemed almost lighter than the judgment in their eyes. Inside, polished marble floors and crystal lights met cool glances, and clerks in pastel suits traded smirks at Jamal's sweaty brow and dark skin. Mrs. Kensington, tall and silver-haired, greeted shoppers sweetly but told Jamal to wait by the stockroom while she finished chatting about high tea. A girl in designer sneakers giggled, snapping a secret photo of Jamal to share online, certain his presence in the luxury shop would be hilarious. Jamal knew the pattern. People saw a black delivery man and decided he fit in a joke better than in their circle, but he kept his shoulders squared because his grandmother had taught him dignity grows from inside out. She insisted the package must be wrong, claiming something so costly could not be trusted to just a courier, especially one who looked dusty. Jamal politely produced the digital receipt, showing her meticulous tracking logs and a matching barcode, yet she still doubted, asking whether he understood the value of silk-lined crystal she had ordered from Italy. A line formed, and Jamal saw the teens press faces to the glass, hungry for more mockery as each second stretched their amusement like gum. He reminded himself that he had crossed bigger storms, recalling nights he studied business textbooks after shifts, dreaming of launching his own logistics app that would make deliveries fair and fast for everyone. The memory of his late father's encouragement rang like a bell in his mind, guiding him to speak respectfully even when others did not offer the same courtesy back to him. He read the serial number aloud, pointed to the correct initials engraved on the manifest, and waited while Mrs. Kensington's assistant checked the store computer, tapping keys with exaggerated slowness. Whispers rolled across the showroom, a murmur that the courier was causing a scene, that he must have messed up, that people like him often did. Each whisper was a tiny paper cut he pretended not to feel. Jamal's phone buzzed with another route update, but he kept his focus, knowing one careless action could feed their bias and spoil his company's spotless record of on-time deliveries. Finally, the assistant's eyes widened, and she stammered that the package was indeed correct and already paid in full by a Mr. J. Ravenscroft, a name that sent curious ripples through the nearby shoppers. Mrs. Kensington's tone shifted to sudden politeness, but the teens outside hooted louder, guessing the delivery man had won a tiny victory, and that was somehow hilarious too. Jamal signed the transfer form, his handwriting neat from years of careful logbooks, and he handed the delicate box over with both hands, respecting its contents the way he wished people respected him. As he turned to leave, one teen opened the boutique door and sarcastically bowed, saying, "Don't drop anything, champ," prompting stray laughter from a few adults who should have known better. Jamal paused, not out of anger but out of patience, and he offered the teen a small smile, remembering another lesson from his grandmother. Some people laugh because they do not yet know enough to listen. Outside, the sun blazed, yet a cool breeze tugged at the edge of Jamal's cap, as if nature itself whispered that shade will always find those who wait with endurance. He loaded his cart back into the van, scanned the next address, and noticed it was only 3 blocks away, inside a newly renovated tech incubator hosting a grand opening that very evening. Jamal chuckled softly because fate can be playful, and this delivery, stamped with the same mysterious sender initials, was scheduled for the VIP lounge where investors and reporters would gather. The teens followed on their bikes, intrigued by the unfolding errand, sensing there might be more reasons to tease or record a viral clip of the hardworking courier. Jamal ignored their chatter and steered the van forward, each turn of the wheel tracing years of experience that taught him efficiency, safety, and kindness were the true pillars of success. At the incubator entrance, a red carpet lay atop stairs flanked by velvet ropes, and a giant banner read Ravenscroft Innovations, delivering the future, which made Jamal grin at the clever pun. Security guards in black suits checked a list of attendees, and when Jamal arrived, they greeted him warmly by name, surprising the teens who lurked nearby with cameras ready. One guard said, "Mr. Ravenscroft is expecting you," and ushered Jamal past the line of curious onlookers, their eyes wide as doors opened with a swish of automated glass panels. Inside, holographic displays shimmered above sleek tables, showing drones, smart lockers, and eco-friendly transport pods, all part of a company promising to change how packages moved across cities. A reporter adjusted her microphone and asked Jamal if he worked for Ravenscroft, but before he could answer, a voice boomed from the balcony. "There's the man of the hour." Mr. J. Ravenscroft descended the staircase, his tailored suit crisp, but his grin warmer than the sunlight Jamal had left behind, and he wrapped Jamal in a proud hug that stunned everyone watching. The teens exchanged confused looks. The boutique clerks arriving late gasped, and Mrs. Kensington herself appeared in the doorway, clutching her pearls as if the scene rewrote everything she believed. Ravenscroft clapped Jamal on the shoulder and announced to the crowd that this humble-looking courier was in fact his chief logistics architect and the silent co-founder who designed the groundbreaking network. Gasps turned into awkward applause, and cameras that once hunted embarrassment now flashed in admiration, capturing Jamal's calm smile as respect replaced ridicule. Ravenscroft explained that Jamal preferred hands-on field tests, ensuring every route, every scanner, and every customer interaction met the highest standard of fairness and efficiency. Reporters peppered Jamal with questions, and he answered in clear, gentle words, emphasizing that dignity belongs to everyone, whether they wear a silk tie or a simple delivery uniform. The teens lowered their phones, cheeks reddening, as they realized their laughter had been aimed at a visionary whose work would soon influence their very doorsteps. Mrs. Kensington approached, apology trembling on her lips, and Jamal accepted her handshake with quiet grace, telling her that quality care should travel both directions, from sender to receiver and back again. Music swelled through the hall, and a giant screen displayed Jamal's early sketches of routing software, proving brilliance often hides in plain sight, wearing practical shoes and an earnest smile. In that moment, Maple Street's simple delivery man became a beacon of perseverance for everyone watching, and the lessons of respect, patience, and possibility settled over the room like soft evening light. Journalists formed a semicircle around Jamal, recorders blinking while they jotted notes, and he felt the weight of eyes but kept breathing slow as his grandmother had taught him, remembering evenings when she made him recite poems to gain steady courage. He began by telling them that good shipping is about caring for neighbors, because every box is someone's hope wrapped in cardboard, and that idea made reporters pause and nod. He could see their pens hover as if respect suddenly weighed heavier than ink, and the hush that followed felt like morning dew settling on fresh grass, brief but vivid. Behind them, curved displays showed green delivery paths that cut fuel use by 30%, and schoolchildren squealed each time a drone zipped across the ceiling, its rotors humming like giant bees in a glass garden, while animated arrows traced low-carbon shortcuts across familiar blocks, a reminder that big change can be as playful as recess but as serious as clean air. Mr. Ravenscroft stepped aside, letting Jamal take center stage, and the boutique staff in the back heard their own quick judgments echo like distant thunder inside a hall meant for applause, realizing first impressions can be loud yet wrong. Jamal showed slides of childhood deliveries, newspapers at dawn, groceries at dusk, proving practice, not privilege, built skill mile after mile on cracked sidewalks warmed by sunrise, turning ordinary routes into a personal classroom filled with unsung lessons, proof that effort over time can carve paths stronger than any shortcut. His lesson was clear: learn small tasks with care, and you can build big systems the same way. A point sixth graders scribbled into notebooks covered in superhero stickers and neon doodles, their pencils scratching like tiny fireworks beneath the high ceiling, and their teacher whispered that real heroes sometimes wear delivery badges. A boy wearing a visitor badge asked how Jamal handled laughter, and Jamal said laughter is just wind unless you let it knock you over, a phrase the boy mouthed twice as if sealing it inside his memory and taping it to his heart. Cameras flashed as Jamal added that rude jokes reminded him to double-check data and prove results louder than insults, a method he called turning noise into numbers, which drew approving chuckles from the stats teacher, chaperoning the kids, and impressed even the quiet janitor sweeping near the exit. Next, he showed lockers painted bright by local teens so communities felt pride instead of fear of new gadgets, each locker door glowing with solar-powered lights to keep streets friendly at night, and the colors shifted gently like breathing art. The teens who mocked him earlier saw their own street on the slide and fell silent, surprised they might be invited to paint for real. One quietly nudged another and whispered it looked awesome, cheeks reddening under the projector beam. Jamal thanked artists in advance, saying spray paint can tell stories as powerful as computer code, especially when both aim to connect people, and art teachers at the back exchanged impressed looks. Reporters realized the courier was also a mentor and planner who switched roles as smoothly as his van moved through traffic, and one whispered that charisma was rarer than capital, a line she later used in her headline, a comparison that made two investors exchange thoughtful nods. Mrs. Kensington clutched her bag when Jamal said luxury shops could book eco-friendly delivery windows that match style with low emissions. Her eyes darted to the skylight where sunbeams slanted like spotlights, dust dancing within them. She had never considered Crystal could ride in vans charged by rooftop solar panels, but the picture softened her expression, and the pearls at her neck seemed to settle instead of quiver, as though relieved by fresh perspective. An investor asked about profit, and Jamal replied that smarter routes save so much that fairness is simply sensible. Not an extra cost, but hidden gain revealed by careful math. The way good shoes reveal comfort only after a long walk down an unfamiliar road, a saving she compared to finding extra pages in a beloved book. The investor smiled thinly, while an older woman whispered that Jamal's idea would help her receive medicine faster without extra cost. Gratitude shines brighter than any venture pitch, and nearby cameras caught her moist eyes. Her thanks tightened Jamal's throat, and he remembered nights delivering prescriptions for free when pharmacies closed early, guided only by porch lights and the promise of relief, a memory that still smelled of rain on asphalt. He said technology should feel like a friendly neighbor, not a cold robot, or people will not trust it. Every beep, every light must speak welcome, just as a doorbell chime signals home. A drone demo lifted a parcel, weaved through hoops, and landed on a mat shaped like a welcome rug, sensors flashing soft blue to show success, and kids cheered like it was a carnival trick, their voices echoing high into the rafters, drawing ooze that bounced off the high ceiling like soft fireworks. Applause filled the hall, and the teens clapped hardest, their smirks replaced by wide-eyed excitement at engineering that began with homework math. Two of them high-fived before remembering to look composed, but nobody minded the slip because joy is contagious. He told them internships were open to anyone willing to learn, even if their shoes were dusty from biking across town, because dusty shoes mean miles of determination and stories worth sharing. One teen vowed silently to apply before the moon rose, already mapping essay lines in his head about second chances and circuits, his heart thumping like a drum. Jamal moved to safety features, geofencing, drop codes, and audio prompts in many languages so everyone could use the lockers, even grandparents with shaky phones, ensuring no one felt left behind in the rush toward the future. A translator signed details for hearing-impaired guests, showing inclusion was planned from the start, and an elderly man applauded in sign language, his smile wide as the horizon. Mr. Ravenscroft added that each new hub would fund parks and libraries in nearby blocks, promising swings, benches, and full bookshelves, turning delivery fees into fresh ink on library cards and playground laughter, a promise that made a gardener imagine new saplings by the swings. The crowd approved, happy that profit would circle back to the streets that supported it. Progress, Jamal said, should taste sweet to the bakers who need the dough, earning an appreciative laugh from a local cafe owner. Jamal thanked delivery drivers who trained him, calling them quiet teachers of patience and precision, unsung heroes who know every pothole by first name and every shortcut by heart, their wisdom mapped into his software. He also thanked store clerks, even doubters, because their questions pushed him to build systems that leave no room for error, turning skepticism into sturdy code, a thank you that made a few heads bow. A ripple of embarrassed laughter spread among boutique staff, but they appreciated the gentle forgiveness and felt lighter, like bags set down after a long trip. Journalists rushed to write headlines about a courier-turned-leader with a social mission, fingers flying over keys like sparrows hopping across roof tiles, eager to beat their own deadlines. Jamal reminded them titles are fine, but actions matter more, promising he'd still drive routes twice a month and keep calluses honest, the way gardeners keep hands. Jamal's sturdy white van rolled toward the Grand City Museum, wheels humming a steady song that matched the boy navigator's excited heartbeat while sunset painted everything in honey orange. The teens rode close behind, their rusty bike bells ringing like tiny cheering fans each time the van turned a corner onto streets they thought they knew by heart but now felt brand new. Jamal pointed to the glowing tablet screen and showed the boy how the route lines shifted color from bright green to shining gold when fuel savings hit their target, turning daily math into treasure. The boy grinned wide and told his friends through the half-open window that every good choice on the map was like unlocking a secret level in his favorite game, a quest inside real life. At a long red light, Jamal waved the teens forward so they could see the tablet too, and they gasped when they spotted their own neighborhood highlighted for future art delivery training. One teen whispered, "We actually get to paint lockers?" And Jamal nodded, saying bright colors guide both packages and people alike, because light welcomes everyone. The light turned green again, and the little convoy rolled on, passing a corner bakery where the smell of fresh bread drifted in, making every stomach in the van rumble in happy unison. The baker stepped outside and waved, recalling Jamal's late-night drop-offs of flour during lockdown troubles, and she raised a thumbs up that felt warmer than the ovens glowing inside. The boy tapped the screen and marked the bakery as a future locker spot, explaining that sweet treats near pickups turn waiting into joy, and Jamal praised the clever idea with a proud, booming laugh. They crossed Old Elm Bridge, where river water glimmered like scattered coins, and the boy leaned far over the dashboard to watch tiny drones practice test flights above the calm surface. A loud traffic alert popped up, warning of a parade blocking Main Street ahead, so Jamal asked the boy to choose a new detour, letting him steer the digital map with careful, deliberate taps. The boy traced Pine Alley, a narrow road lined by bright murals, and the system chimed happy sky blue because the clever choice saved both time and emissions for the busy city. The teens followed quick, bouncing over old cobblestones, cheering when they saw a fresh mural of a soaring black eagle, proud symbol of courage for the local school team and community spirit. Jamal slowed the van so everyone could admire the art, telling him every picture on the wall first lived in someone's hopeful mind, just like every good invention starts as a single bright idea. The smallest teen asked shyly how to turn a quick notebook sketch into a giant mural, and Jamal said stepladders, tape lines, teamwork, and brave hearts make small strokes grow tall and wide. They soon reached a quiet block where empty warehouses stood like sleeping giants, and the teens noticed smart locker lights glowing soft sky blue on every steel door, matching the new brand colors. Jamal explained that blue meant lockers were empty and ready, while bright green meant full, and a gentle musical chime played for users who might not see color well, but could hear friendly sound. The boy pressed a button to run the chime, and a sweet melody drifted out, sounding like wind chimes on a wooden porch, calming and wonderfully clear under the darkening sky. A retired mailman sitting on a crate nearby clapped hard and said the tune beat any harsh buzzer he had heard in 30 long years of work, which made the whole group beam with pride. Jamal thanked the veteran courier and offered a private tour later, promising that old wisdom and new tech together made the best, most accurate roadmap any city could ask for. They rolled on again, and the museum's tall stone columns soon appeared, backlit by the last pink streaks of daylight, making the building look like a glowing storybook palace. Crowds gathered for the gala opening of a special exhibit on modern heroes, many dressed in sparkling clothes, yet they glanced curiously at the humble van politely pulling up to the curb. Security guards stepped forward, but then they recognized Jamal's company badge and waved him through with smiles, whispering to the velvet rope line that a true VIP had quietly arrived. Inside the grand foyer, marble floors gleamed like still water, and a string quartet played soft golden notes that floated up into a domed ceiling painted with swirling constellations. The teens parked bikes politely outside and hurried in after getting neon guest stamps, surprised that nobody sneered at their scuffed sneakers or dusty jeans amid gowns and tuxedos. A friendly museum guide welcomed the whole group and led them to a stage where a covered pedestal waited beneath bright theatrical lighting, hinting at an exciting surprise. Reporters who earlier met Jamal turned their lenses again, recognizing the thrilling continuation of a bigger story, their camera flashes sparkling like tiny indoor fireworks. The guide announced that the museum wished to honor innovators who built bridges between communities, and Jamal's eyes widened like full moons because he had not heard about any public award. Mr. Ravenscroft, already present in a sharp suit, stepped up and winked, telling Jamal some packages are kept secret even from their maker so the reveal feels extra magical. Children from several schools filled the balcony seats, waving handmade banners that read, "Thank you, Jamal," painted in bright tempera swirls of blue, red, and sunshine yellow. Jamal felt his knees wobble like jelly, but the boy navigator squeezed his hand hard and whispered, "Breathe steady," repeating the calming lesson Jamal had given him earlier in the van. The cloth lifted from the pedestal, unveiling a shiny scale model of Jamal's first dented van cast from recycled bronze, mounted on a compass rose pointing toward every city neighborhood. An inscription on the bronze base read, "Delivering respect, Jamal El-Amin, co-founder and community champion," words that echoed across marble in a hush that felt like sunrise after storm. Applause burst forth, long and rolling like ocean waves, and even the graceful string players paused to join, their bows resting as wide smiles lit their delighted faces. Tears pricked Jamal's eyes like tiny sparks, and he reached to wipe them, but the boy kindly handed him a small cloth, saying heroes sometimes need tissues too, and that was okay. A proud curator spoke of Jamal's anonymous donations of school supplies during hard seasons, telling how parcels always arrived before first bell, signed only with a yellow smiley sticker. The audience gasped and tilted heads, realizing the quiet courier had been a secret helper in their own stories all along, like a lighthouse shining while ships slept in the dark. Mrs. Kensington, standing in back, pressed a hand to her beating heart, and the cool pearls on her wrists slipped like gentle tears of their own onto her sleeve. The curator ended by inviting everyone to step closer after speeches and trace tiny delivery routes etched on the model's base, learning firsthand how kindness travels street by street. Jamal bowed slightly, voice soft but clear as summer rain, thanking the city for trusting him to carry both packages and hope, promising to keep every future journey gentle and just for all. Jamal stepped down from the stage, wiping grateful tears, and the museum lights dimmed so guests could follow glowing arrows toward the Hall of Inventions, golden reflections dancing on the polished floor like tiny fish in a sunlit pond. The teens shuffled, staring at dusty sneakers, but the curator waved them forward, saying true stories never scuff history, they polish it with honest steps. Their quick breaths puffed little clouds on the cool marble as they advanced. The boy stayed close, whispering. His heart thumped louder than the quartet. Jamal said brave beats are signs of growth, nearby cameras catching the nervous grin spreading across his face. As the oak doors swung wide, everyone gasped at a life-size animated city map covering the walls, neighborhoods blooming like sunrise and showing package flows in real time, while animated vans zipped along the glowing streets leaving comet tales of data. A small girl tapped Maple Street, and rainbow streaks traced how medicine, books, and toys reached homes in hours, painting kindness across the digital sky. The streaks lingered, forming a bright ribbon that wrapped around the hall like a hug. Parents said they had never seen shipping told like a storybook, and Mr. Ravenscroft smiled, agreeing school should stay fun for all ages. Several elderly guests wiped eyes, remembering picture books under lamplight. At the map center stood a kiosk with a battered seat from Jamal's first van, now fitted with bright screens so anyone could test drive a route, and a friendly cartoon courier waved on the screen, encouraging cautious drivers. A grandmother sat and pressed a blinking circle for her senior center. The system guided her through cool streets to protect fragile medicines from heat, then congratulated her with fireworks. She laughed when fireworks popped on screen to celebrate her fuel savings, lifting her cane like a trophy while kids cheered. A volunteer whispered she wished her own grandma could see such strength. The curator said each virtual route tonight would become a real book delivery tomorrow, turning curiosity into pages in children's hands, and parents imagined their kids turning library lines into treasure hunts next weekend. Reporters recorded the pledge, but Jamal nudged them to sign up, teasing headlines shine brighter when backed by action, and their cooperative gesture felt like a small handshake between news and hope. A businessman hesitated, but team guided him. Together they plotted art supplies to a public school whose art room sat empty, adding blank sketch pads and imagining murals blooming on brick walls. The businessman, surprised by his grin, promised funding, and that warmth spread like campfire sparks among the watching teens. Music softened, replaced by recorded children's laughter each time a route hit the fairness score, a playful feature Jamal had coded. Visitors grinned every time the light giggle echoed off the marble. Mrs. Kensington approached with a pale silk scarf and sincere eyes. Some guests placed hands over hearts, feeling the weight of her apology as it settled like dawnlight. Jamal tied the scarf on the boy like a hero cape, saying gifts travel farther when shared, the cape catching a breeze and fluttering like a bright signal flag. The audience clapped, but a sudden hush fell when a stern museum board member stepped out, frowning that the hall looked more like a playground. The hush was deep enough to hear distant thunder outside. He muttered museums should elevate art above everyday mess, and his cold words drifted like fog, quieting guests. The child in front squeezed his mother's hand, unsure what to think as tension filled the hall. Jamal replied that invention begins on messy desks and sidewalks, and art without people is merely a frame, an empty stage waiting for life to step in. His words painted courage onto an invisible canvas overhead. The member demanded proof that playful teaching worked, and Jamal simply pointed toward the glowing map, audience eyes bouncing between the display and the skeptic. The system suddenly flashed red. A clinic needed a special inhaler before the storm, and only Jamal's demo van was close enough, a hush deeper than any museum silence wrapped around their shoulders. The skeptic doubted an on-the-spot plan could meet protocol, hearts thudding like drums before a leap. Jamal confirmed, and the map redrew a path skirting parade barriers and flood zones, timers ticking bright yellow. The boy's hand shot up to help. The cape flapped like a banner in the rising cheers. An excited chatter burst like popcorn in the corridor. Ravenscroft cited live demo clauses, prepared for moments just like this, ending objections. Guests parted as Jamal's team rolled a simulator seat outside to the moonlit courtyard and the solar charge van. Street lamps glowed softly as the van rolled past. A news drone streamed a scene. Viewers hurried to copy the link and boost the feed, and streams spiked to record numbers. The teens clipped bikes to a hitch. The grandmother climbed aboard, sunflower pin glowing, declaring wisdom rides with courage. Jamal checked tire pressure, taught the boy weather overlays. Windshield wipers squeaked a catchy rhythm. and Rain drummed its own applause on the metal roof above. Raindrop symbols spread near Elm Bridge. The boy suggested a stone tunnel he knew. Traffic lights blinked cooperative green waves, and Rain drummed a steady beat on the roof. They passed the bakery. The rolls smelled of cinnamon and butter, filling the van with cozy warmth. Lightning flashed, turning the teens into bursts of starlight racing beside the van. One teen shouted that lightning made them look like superheroes. Minutes later, they reached the clinic. A tired nurse took the sealed inhaler, and relief bloomed on her face. Thunder cracked, but a little girl inside pressed her palm to the window, eyes brighter than the hall light, watching her guardians wave back. The board member, arriving by car, watched and felt objections dissolve like sugar in hot tea. He felt a strange warmth spread through his chest. He admitted museums should collect living moments too, rain dripping from his glasses like clear tears of rebirth. Rain eased to drizzle. Streetlights glittered on wet asphalt like candles guiding them home, and someone softly hummed the Fairness jingle. Viewers cheered as the van rolled back in, mud hissing on stone. Rain drummed soft rhythm on umbrella tops outside the hall. Jamal stepped out, mud splattered, yet grinned despite the mess, knowing true progress always leaves footprints. He told the board member Rain washes streets as truth clears doubt, inviting him to touch the muddy tire, proof that progress grows from ground contact and shared effort. Dawn's first pale light crept over the museum courtyard, drying last night's rain into shiny patches that looked like tiny lakes made of glass, and Jamal wiped dew from the van's windshield while stretching stiff arms. The teens yawned wide, rubbing eyes, yet they buzzed with energy because helping the clinic felt like winning the biggest level in any game they had ever played, and their bikes gleamed under the pink sky as if rewarded with fresh paint. Inside the grand foyer, volunteers stacked breakfast boxes beside lockers, and each carton carried apples, oat bars, and bright stickers that read fuel for future couriers, making the hallway smell like cinnamon mornings at summer camp. Jamal handed the boy navigator a small clipboard containing real delivery tickets so he could lead a practice run, and the boy's fingers trembled with excitement the way guitar strings jitter before a first song. Mr. Ravenscroft arrived wearing jogging shoes instead of dress shoes, explaining leaders need to feel pavement underfoot, not just boardroom carpet, a lesson that made a few sleepy investors trade their polished loafers for sneakers. The museum board member from last night appeared holding 2 steaming cups of cocoa, shyly offering one to Jamal and saying muddy-proof beat polished out, words that floated like warm breath in the cool morning air. Jamal accepted, grateful, and the board member smiled at the teens, admitting he once believed youth were too noisy for history halls, but now he knew noise can be music when directed toward good goals. A janitor quietly replaced fancy velvet ropes with bright cloth ribbons printed with tiny van icons, turning the formal gala path into a fun obstacle course so visiting school groups could follow the delivery story step by step. Kids began to arrive in yellow buses, faces pressed to windows, pointing at the giant banner that read "Every route a story, every driver a hero," flapping proudly above the museum steps like a flag of welcome. Teachers formed lines, reminding classes to stay in pairs, yet could not hide their own smiles when they saw drones hover overhead spelling "Dugami" with glowing dots of light. The curator handed Jamal a walkie-talkie set to Channel 6, the Kid Channel, so every group could call him with geography quiz questions during their tour, turning the hall into a living classroom. The boy navigator clicked the first locker delivery complete, earning a confetti animation on the tablet that splashed rainbow specks across the screen, and nearby children squealed as if actual glitter had exploded into the air. A math teacher whispered the app made fractions feel like fireworks, and she secretly planned tonight's homework around fuel-saving percentages shown in the demo. One brave student asked how tall a delivery dream must be before it counts, and Jamal knelt beside her, answering that any dream taller than a seed is big enough to plant, words the girl repeated softly into her cup dance. Reporters returned, cameras rolling, and focused on messy details like scuffed sneakers and wrinkled vests, realizing those honest textures told the truest parts of the story. A volunteer designer unveiled new locker prototypes covered in chalkboard paint, so communities could draw weekly cartoons, schedules, or birthday wishes, and chalk lay ready in rainbow bundles. A librarian approached, thrilled, suggesting story prompts on the lockers where kids must answer with drawings, turning every package pickup into a mini writing club. Jamal endorsed the idea on the spot, marking a software note to add a chalk challenge badge, and teens high-fived, already thinking of dragons, rockets, and sunflower fields to doodle. The skeptic board member, now friend, announced a grant for art supplies, surprising everyone, and applause echoed like rolling marbles down a hallway. A music teacher banged a locker gently and heard perfect pitch, promising to compose a locker symphony where doors slam in rhythm, an idea that made everyone laugh taller than museum columns. The girl from earlier tugged Jamal's sleeve, pointing to red districts on the map that still lacked fast medicine routes, and Jamal nodded, saying new eyes often spot missing puzzle pieces first. They opened a mapping panel, and the boy navigator traced shorter lines through old alleys he knew from biking, shaving precious minutes off the estimated times while dozens of kids watched in. Software chimed emerald green, showing carbon savings that could power the museum lights for a whole weekend, and kids clapped like they had unlocked a legendary badge in a video game. Suddenly, the power flickered. A city grid test had started without public warning, plunging overhead displays into darkness, and worried murmurs rustled like leaves in a sudden wind. Emergency lights snapped on, dim but steady, painting faces orange and shadows long. Yet Jamal raised the walkie-talkie and told kids this was the perfect moment to test solar battery backups. Outside, the van's rooftop panels had stored dawn light, and with a few taps the system rerouted museum power for critical screens, causing them to glow again like lanterns in a cave. Cheers erupted, and a tiny child exclaimed the sun had saved the day, a sentence that sounded so epic reporters scribbled it as a headline. Ravenscroft reminded everyone the future belongs to those who mix courage with science, and teachers nodded, sensing tomorrow's lesson plans writing themselves. The power company's engineer, surprised his own grid wavered, shook Jamal's hand, promising partnership to build more battery hubs near schools. Proof cooperation often sparks under pressure. Kids chanted "Jail, Jamal" until he blushed crimson, reminding them teamwork earned the win, and he made them shout each other's names in a proud roll call that thundered off marble walls. When calm returned, the curator unveiled a touch-screen wall where visitors could pledge one-kind delivery, writing simple acts like bringing soup to neighbors or sharing umbrellas, each pledge turning into a glowing, on a digital city map. Soon thousands of dots twinkled, constellations of kindness connecting avenues, and the museum looked less like a building and more like a starry night turned inside out. A shy custodian typed his pledge to fix broken bike lights free of charge. His dot shone brighter than the rest, and kids roared approval, proving no hero is too hidden to shine. Lunch carts rolled in, serving veggie wraps and fruit cups labeled with mileage saved by local farms using Jamal's routes, turning every bite into an edible infographic. The baker arrived pushing trays of mini cinnamon rolls shaped like tiny wheels, and the museum smelled sweeter than any gala perfume, drawing parents to line up like eager children. Jamal looked across the hall, seeing lockers, screens, chalk scribbles, and human smiles woven together, realizing the simple delivery van had become a moving classroom that now filled an entire museum. The board member, Coco nearly gone, suggested keeping the exhibit permanent, and gasps of joy floated up to the domed ceiling where painted stars seemed to wink approval. Jamal agreed only if the exhibit kept changing with new ideas from kids, teachers, and couriers, because roads grow, and learning must roll forward like wheels with fresh air in the tires. Everyone cheered, sealing the promise like a group photograph made of sound, and reporters broadcast the jubilation, their voices trembling with rare, bright hope. Jamal and the boy left the museum after lunch and saw locker doors glinting in fierce sun, as if inviting anyone to begin new quests for kindness along familiar sidewalks. The pledge walls still glowed inside, yet louder excitement burst outside when the mayor launched a citywide scavenger hunt driven by Jamal's delivery clues, pitting neighborhoods in friendly competition. Teachers cheered, volunteers grabbed tablets, and Jamal radioed Ravenscroft to release spare batteries, flags, and helmets for anyone eager to join the game. Teens jumped on bikes, vests flashing like meteors across pavement, while the boys steered along shortcuts learned during after-school rides, proving memory can beat satellite paths. First clue said 3 envelopes for librarians waited in locker D12 across town, and a crimson countdown clock dared them to move fast. The app offered slow Main Street, yet the boy chose mural-lined Pine Alley, and the screen pulsed green, proving local knowledge sometimes outruns code. A smiling vendor handed free lemonade, saying last night's clinic rescue deserved thanks, and the icy citrus pushed tired legs harder. Locker D12 popped open, revealing wax-sealed envelopes stamped with little cloud hearts. The boy tucked them beside his math notebook and a spare tube patch, careful as a scientist labeling samples. Crossing Elm Bridge, they passed a stalled parade bus. Teens created a bike lane. The mechanic fixed a slipped belt in minutes, and dancers waved ribbon hearts. Park 1 buzzed with cape-wearing kids. The envelope unlocked cardboard crown kits, and delighted squeals rose higher than the woodpeckers that nest near the old bell tower every spring. Wind caught instruction pages, but families sprinted after them, turning potential litter into a paper plane contest that ended in cheering. They fit groceries for an elderly man into the cargo basket on the way. Showing compassion rarely slows a schedule when heart and route steer together like perfectly matched gears. Second Park hid among tight streets. Kids rehearsed dance moves and cheered when Envelope 2 arrived, freeing their speaker playlist. Parents filmed thank you videos against bright murals, proving delivery paths and painting lines can together splatter hope across plain concrete, creating social posts more uplifting than any filter. The steep uphill ride to the third park tested everyone, yet the boys' funny narration over walkie-talkies turned heavy breathing into group laughter. At the hilltop, they paused to admire a silver skyline reflecting afternoon sun, proving tiny wonder breaks refill energy. The third librarian swapped Envelope for a new order. Stage a flash mob reading at City Fountain within 1 hour using gear hidden downtown. Radio chatter erupted, teens split routes, mini drones eyed traffic, and Jamal marveled as cooperation formed honeycomb patterns of movement visible on shared map screens. He let the boy direct the fountain event while he fetched star-shaped reward stickers from the van, trusting young leadership to tame microphones, poets, and inevitable squeaky feedback. The square filled, pigeons strutted near book towers, and tourists wondered what story they had entered during an ordinary stroll. The boy's voice trembled at first reading, steady by the second line, and by the end of his poem about letters delivering hugs he sounded like a professional host, drawing cheers off courthouse walls. Phones lit like fireflies as hundreds texted kind words to distant friends, proof gentle thumbs can steer digital currents toward warmth instead of storms. An elderly choir joined, blending with fountain splashes so perfectly that reporters admitted no lens could capture the joy. Jamal returned with stars. Sunset light bounced off stickers, projecting tiny galaxies across damp pavement. The mayor pinned a larger star on Jamal, promising locker hubs in every underserved block before year's end. Flashbulbs popped, but Jamal directed lenses toward volunteers, and cameras obeyed, filming teens whose earlier teasing had melted into leadership as bright as their flashing vests. In the museum, the pledge wall mirrored star positions live, turning the city map into glittering sky that made spectators gasp and trace imaginary constellations with fingertips. Former skeptic updated a plaque to say, "Play moves mountains," signing an ink earned from real adventure. Sunset painted clouds orange and grape, while balloons lifted wish cards promising lessons like teaching grandpa video calls or planting bee-friendly flowers beside lockers. Jamal told the crowd every wish now traveled an invisible route called hope, and everyone was a courier guarding respect. Applause rolled down streets, rattled shop shutters, and slid through open windows where neighbors paused dishes, smiling at distant festival echoes that felt like safe lullabies. Cleanup crews sang. Librarians handed leftover crowns to balcony kids, turning roof edges into tiny royal boxes overlooking a calmer yet happier square. Teachers drafted Monday math around mileage saved and art around sticker constellations, ensuring today's hunt would echo after weekend sparkles fade. Teens pedaled beside Jamal's gentle van, promising to propose better bike lanes at council meetings, having learned policy often grows from stories, not slideshows. The boy, wearing a mayoral pin, studied evening traffic graphs, dreaming reflective chalk arrows on sidewalks to guide safe night deliveries. Ravenscroft streamed a recap and teased a summer pilot in the next city. Teens vowed road trip volunteering, their laughter rising like sparks above a campfire. Streetlights flicked on, echoing the morning locker melody, reminding everyone technology should welcome, guide, and include every wandering foot, never slam doors. Turning onto Maple Street where everything began, they saw boutique windows advertising an artisan fair partnered with the upcoming locker mural unveiling event. Jamal gifted cinnamon rolls to the bus mechanic finishing a late shift, proving gratitude routes stay strongest when fueled by pastry and honest eye contact. He whispered to the boy that tomorrow's map held fresh puzzles, but with so many bright helpers, every heavy package would feel lighter. He added that glowing numbers guide drivers like stars, and every promise made today would return at sunrise like parcels filled with fresh chances. Jamal parked the van back at the museum after sunset, and mellow street lamp halos painted warm circles on the ground while tired volunteers leaned on each other and laughed about the day's wild ride. He thanked every driver who answered storm alerts, each teen who mapped shortcuts, and even the janitor whose broom twirled like a dance partner when confetti tried to hide in hallway corners. The mayor climbed the stone steps again, now wearing rolled-up sleeves instead of ceremony robes, proving Real's service begins after cameras go dark and crowd cheers fade to a soft echo. She announced that locker murals, solar trees, and puppy robots would move beyond Maple Street into 12 more neighborhoods by fall, turning today's test into tomorrow's normal sight. Kids squealed and jumped so high their sneakers flashed in the light, and one small crown slipped off a head, landing like a gold coin that bounced twice before being returned with a shy grin. Reporters recorded the promise, but Jamal asked them to film the elderly choir humming gentle lullabies for bus drivers who still had miles to go, because those songs were the day's best headline. Mr. Ravenscroft unfurled a projection on the museum wall, showing a night map sprinkled with glowing dots. Every represented a person who pledged a kind delivery, and the cluster looked like a galaxy being born. The boy navigator traced a finger across the shining pattern and whispered that galaxies grow by pulling stars together, just like routes grow by gathering helpers who believe in fairness. The skeptic board member nodded, admitting the map felt more powerful than any statue because it moved with living light, changing shape each time someone clicked a new promise. A baker rolled out trays of cinnamon wheels shaped like tiny spirals of adventure, telling everyone that good flavor, like good service, sticks in memory longer than sour doubt. Families shared pastries on marble steps, and crumbs scattered for late-night birds, reminding Jamal of his grandmother's lesson that even small leftovers can feed unexpected guests. The mayor held up a sealed envelope stamped with the museum crest and handed it to Jamal, explaining it was the final clue in today's scavenger hunt and belonged to him alone. He opened it carefully and read a simple line, "Deliver faith in yourself wherever you go," a message that made his throat tighten more than any medal ever could. The boy tapped Jamal's elbow and said the clue must travel farther than any package, so they decided to broadcast it on the public screen where passing buses could see the bright letters. Cheering rose as the phrase scrolled across downtown billboards, floating above traffic like a guiding star that never sleeps, and drivers honked in happy rhythm. Suddenly, headlights swept over the square as the clinic nurse from last night arrived with the little girl whose inhaler had come in time. She carried a thank-you drawing of the van, wearing superhero cape tires. The girl shyly gave it to Jamal, and he knelt to promise her that locker 304 would always keep spare inhalers ready before storms could scare any lungs. Parents standing nearby dabbed eyes, realizing the delivery network was no longer just tech but a woven safety net strong enough to catch quiet fears. Ravenscroft announced scholarships for teens who logged community route hours, and the group of former mockers cheered loudest, already counting kilometers they planned to earn during summer. Firefighters pushed in a smart locker painted bright red, promising to drop smoke alarm batteries door to door next month, and the mayor laughed that even safety could ride Jamal's cheerful rails. Street musician twins tuned guitars and played a gentle blues about wheels turning towards sunrise, and their melody floated through the cooling air like soft ribbon smoke. Jamal's phone buzzed with a weather alert. Clear skies for 3 days, a perfect window to install the first solar tree near the hospital playground before new storms gathered. He passed the alert to the power official, who grinned and scheduled cranes for dawn, while kids nearby plotted picnic blankets to watch panels rise like metal sunflowers. The janitor swept steps one last time, leaving a perfect swirl pattern that looked like a signature nobody could forge, then saluted the puppy robot as it beeped gratitude. Museum lights dimmed to energy-saving mode, yet thousands of pledge dots shone brighter in contrast, casting polka-dot halos on walls and faces alike. The librarian stacked empty crown boxes and said stories will sprout where crowns travel, promising pop-up reading circles in laundromats, buses, and locker lines. Teachers collected leftover map flags for geography lessons, predicting test scores would climb because routes felt like personal adventures instead of silent diagrams. The boy noticed a lone pledge dot blinking on the industrial west side and asked why it stood apart. Jamal said every new spark starts alone before friends gather around its glow. They decided tomorrow's first trip would head there with paint, tools, and cinnamon wheels, proving attention travels fastest on fresh tires. Security guards, once statuesque, now traded locker jokes with teens, promising to join mural nights off duty, while reporters captured their smiles to close evening broadcasts. The board members sealed museum doors and placed a small chalk sign outside reading, "Open routes, open minds," a phrase that made Jamal grin so wide his cheeks ached. Under street lamp glow, Jamal guided the boy to the van's driver's seat again, saying practice builds muscle faster than speeches, and the engine hummed agreement. They cruised through calm avenues where lockers glowed safe green and night shift workers waved, grateful their packages would not rest on risky porches anymore. As they rolled by the boutique, Mrs. Kensington set stacks of artisanal candle boxes outside, tagging each for dawn delivery to homeless shelters seeking warm light. Jamal shouted praise, and she laughed, Admitting respect delivers better sales than any coupon ever printed, a lesson soft as wax yet solid as glass. The boy asked what tomorrow might hold, and Jamal answered that every sunrise drops brand new envelopes on the map, and couriers must wake ready to chase them with honest wheels and open hearts. Downtown Clock Tower chimed 10 slow notes, echoing between buildings like giant footsteps heading home, telling children on balconies to finish goodnight waves. The puppy robot rolled ahead, projecting a path of tiny paw print lights, and teens followed on bikes, joking they now had a robotic scout dog for evening rides. Jamal inhaled city night air, catching cinnamon, diesel, and blooming jasmine, aromas mixing like chapters in a single big book he would never finish reading. The van turned onto Maple Street, headlights sweeping the familiar sidewalk where laughter once stung. Now he promised the quiet stones that every future wheel would carry respect until no cruel joke could find a home anywhere the road could reach.